The smell of cheap perfume and regret hit me the moment Elena walked through our front door at 2:47 a.m. again. I know the exact time because I'd been lying there in our king-sized bed, the one we'd bought when we still pretended to like each other, staring at the digital clock like it held answers to questions I wasn't ready to ask. Jack? Her voice carried that fake sweetness she used when she knew she was caught. You awake, honey? Honey. Right. When did I become honey instead of jackass, loser, or my personal favorite from last week's argument, disappointment with a paycheck? I'm Jack Connolly, 42 years old, former Boston PD, current building inspector for the city of Medford. I've got a decent eye for structural damage, in buildings and marriages. Both require the same skill set, knowing when something's about to collapse and figuring out if it's worth saving. Just wondering if you remembered where you live, I called back, not bothering to hide the edge in my voice. Elena appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the hallway light. Even disheveled and reeking of wine and someone else's cologne, she was stunning. Raven black hair, green eyes that could cut glass, and a smile that had once made me forget my own name. Now it just reminded me how stupid I'd been. Don't start, Jack. I told you I was having drinks with the girls from work. Until almost 3 a.m? On a Tuesday? She kicked off her heels, the red ones I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, and they landed with sharp clicks on our hardwood floor. Stacy's going through a divorce. We were being supportive. Stacy Chen, Elena's work bestie and fellow HR manager at Pinnacle Insurance. I'd met Stacy exactly twice. Both times, she'd looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her designer shoe. How's Damien? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Elena froze. Just for a second, but I caught it. 15 years as a cop teaches you to notice the micro-expressions, the tiny tells that separate truth from bullshit. Who? Damien Sloan. Your new personal trainer. The one whose Instagram you've been liking at all hours of the night. She recovered quickly. I'll give her that. Laughed like I'd just told her the world's dumbest joke. Are you seriously going through my social media now? That's pathetic, even for you. I don't have to go through it. You do it right next to me on the couch every night. Hard to miss when you're giggling at pictures of some guy's abs while I'm trying to watch the socks. Elena started undressing, hanging her clothes in our walk-in closet with deliberate precision. New lingerie? I noted. Black lace, still had the tags. Funny how she'd been buying a lot of new underwear lately, but I hadn't seen any of it. You're being paranoid, she said, not looking at me. Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to your conspiracy theories, we wouldn't have this problem. What problem is that exactly? She turned then, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not anger, not frustration, contempt, pure, cold contempt. The problem where I'm married to a man who's given up on everything. His career, his body, his marriage. You used to be somebody, Jack. Now you're just here. The words hit like a sucker punch, but I kept my face neutral. Another cop skill. Never let them see they've drawn blood. I see. And Damien, he's somebody? At least he tries. At least he cares about himself, about his future. He's building something. He's building his follower count by posting thirst traps and selling protein powder to teenagers. Elena's laugh was sharp, bitter. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You tear down everyone around you because you can't stand that they're actually living their lives. She climbed into bed, turning her back to me. The conversation was over, according to Elena. But I wasn't done. So what happens now? I asked the darkness. What do you mean? I mean, where does this go? You're obviously done with me. Done with us. So what's the plan? She was quiet for so long, I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, in a voice so cold it could freeze hell, I don't know, Jack. Maybe if you don't like how I live my life, you can leave. You can leave. 4 words that changed everything. 4 words that told me exactly where I stood in my own marriage, in my own home, in my own life. Thanks for clarifying, I said. I got up, pulled my old duffel bag from the closet, and started packing. Elena watched me, probably expecting me to break, to beg, to promise I'd change. Instead, I packed methodically, 3 days' worth of clothes, toiletries, my laptop, and the bottle of Jameson I kept hidden behind my winter coats. "Where are you going?" she asked, and for the first time that night, she sounded uncertain. "You said I could leave." "So I'm leaving." "Jack, don't be dramatic." "I didn't mean, you meant exactly what you said." I zipped the bag and slung it over my shoulder. "You want to play house with Instagram Ken while I pay the mortgage?" "Have at it. But I won't be here to watch." I walked out of our bedroom, down the stairs, and out the front door. Behind me, the house fell silent. No footsteps following, no voice calling my name, no sound of Elena running after me to say she was sorry, that she didn't mean it. Because she did mean it. Every word. I drove to Derek's place in Somerville, my best friend since high school, and the only person who'd never once asked me why I stayed married to Elena. Derek owned a small gym called Iron Will, the kind of place where guys like me went to pretend we were still 25 and intimidating. His apartment was above the gym, and he answered the door in boxers and a Bruins t-shirt, squinting at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "It's 4 a.m, he said. "Elena told me I could leave." Derek stepped aside without another word. That's friendship, knowing when explanations can wait until there's coffee involved. I crashed on his couch, staring at the ceiling and listening to the city wake up outside. Somewhere across town, Elena was lying in our bed, probably texting Damien about her dramatic husband and how she was finally free to do whatever she wanted. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Jack Connolly might be down, but he sure as hell wasn't out. And if Elena wanted to play games, well, I'd spent 15 years learning the rules from the best liars in Boston. Time to see how good she really was. Derek made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, which was perfect, since I felt like I'd been hit by a truck driven by my wife, backed up, and run over me again for good measure. "So," Derek said, sliding a mug across his small kitchen table. "Want to talk about it?" Derek Murphy was built like a brick wall and had the emotional intelligence of a therapist. Weird combination, but it's why his gym worked. Guys came in angry, left feeling heard. He'd been my partner on patrol for 3 years before I transferred to detective work, and he decided civilian life was less likely to get him shot. "Elena's having an affair." "I know." I looked up from my coffee. "You know?" Derek shrugged. "Seen the signs for months. The way she looks at her phone, how she dresses when she's going out with the girls. The fact that she hasn't looked at you like she loves you since Obama was president." "Why didn't you say anything? Would you have believed me?" He had a point. 6 months ago, if Derek had told me Elena was cheating, I'd have defended her, made excuses, convinced myself he was wrong. "Besides," Derek continued, "you had to see it for yourself. Had to be ready to do something about it." "And now I am?" Derek studied my face. "Are you—" I thought about Elena's words, the contempt in her voice, the way she'd dismissed 15 years of marriage like it was a bad restaurant review. "Yeah, I think I am." "Good, because I've been waiting for you to grow a pair for about 2 years now." Derek's laptop was already open on the table. He pulled up Instagram, typed in Damien Sloane's handle, and turned the screen toward me. "Your competition." Damien Sloane looked exactly like what Central Casting would order for generic hot guy number 3. Perfectly styled brown hair, teeth so white they probably glowed in the dark, and abs that suggested he'd never met a carbohydrate he didn't immediately burn off. His bio read, "Fitness coach, life optimizer, DM for training programs, living my best life." "Jesus Christ," I muttered, scrolling through photos of Damien flexing in various locations around Boston. He's like a Ken doll that came to life and discovered protein shakes. Check out who's been liking his posts. Elena's username appeared under photo after photo. Not just recent ones. She'd gone back months, hearting pictures of Damien at the beach, Damien in the gym, Damien holding a smoothie like it was the Holy Grail. She's not even trying to hide it, I said. Why would she? You never checked before. Derek was right. I'd trusted Elena completely, never questioned her stories, never looked at her phone or social media. In hindsight, that wasn't trust. It was willful blindness. So what's the plan? Derek asked. I need proof. Real proof, not just Instagram likes and late nights. Derek grinned. Now you're talking. What do you need? Information. I need to know where she goes, who she sees, what she tells people about me. I can help with that, Mrs. Baird from your street comes to my senior fitness class. Woman's got eyes like a hawk and the memory of an elephant. Plus, she's been suspicious about Elena for months. Mrs. Baird was 73 years old and had lived across from us for 8 years. She knew everyone's business on Maple Street, mostly because she spent her days stationed at her front window with a pair of binoculars and a notebook. What's she seen? Strange cars in your driveway when you're at work. Elena leaving at weird hours. Some guy sneaking around your backyard last week. My blood pressure spiked. Someone was in my backyard? Relax. Mrs. Baird scared him off by turning on her floodlights and yelling about calling the police, but she got a good look at him. Tall, brown hair, drives a black BMW. I pulled up Damien's Instagram again, found a photo of him leaning against a black BMW with the caption, "New ride, new energy." That's him. Derek leaned over to look. Cocky bastard, isn't he? Elena said I gave up on everything. Maybe she's right, but I'm done giving up. What do you want to do? I'd been thinking about this all morning, running through scenarios and possibilities. Elena wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd picked the wrong opponent. I want to catch them together. Get it on video. Then I want to make sure everyone knows exactly who Elena Connolly really is. Derek's grin widened. Now that sounds like the Jack I remember. What do you need? Over the next hour we planned. Derek would reach out to Mrs. Baird, get her full report on Elena's activities. I'd use some of my old police contacts to run background checks on Damien, see if there were any skeletons in his perfectly sculpted closet. And I'd start documenting everything. Times, dates, locations, witnesses. One more thing, Derek said as I got ready to leave for work. You should join my gym. I'm already in terrible shape. Why would I want to advertise it? Because that's where Damien works. He's got a side gig training clients at Gold's Gym downtown, but he also runs boot camp classes at that fancy place in Cambridge. Fit Life Studio. You want me to spy on him? I want you to see what you're up against. Know your enemy, right? Derek had a point. If I was going to war, I needed intelligence. That afternoon, instead of going straight home after work, I drove to Fit Life Studio. The place was exactly what I expected. All glass and chrome, filled with beautiful people in expensive workout clothes, pretending that exercise was fun. I paid for a day pass and wandered around, trying to look like I belonged. It didn't work. I stood out like a beer gut at a yoga retreat, but I found Damien. He was leading a group fitness class, all tight shirts and enthusiastic shouting about pushing through barriers and unlocking your potential. The class was mostly women, all of whom seemed hypnotized by his every word. And there, in the front row, was my wife. Elena wore workout clothes I'd never seen before, designer stuff that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. She hung on Damien's every word, laughed at his jokes, and when he came over to adjust her form, she lit up like Christmas morning. I watched from the weight area, hidden behind a rowing machine, as my wife flirted with another man 20 feet away from me. The way she looked at him, it was how she used to look at me, back when we first met. Like he was the most fascinating person in the world. When class ended, I expected Elena to leave. Instead, she lingered, chatting with Damien while the other women filtered out. They stood close, too close, and when he put his hand on her lower back to guide her toward his office, Something inside me snapped. I followed them, staying far enough back to avoid detection. Through the glass walls of Damien's office, I watched my wife of 15 years schedule what was obviously not a training session. "Thursday night," I heard her say as I pretended to study a nutrition poster nearby. 8 o'clock. "I'll text you the address," Damien replied, his voice carrying that smooth confidence that probably worked on every married woman who walked through his door. They hugged goodbye, a long, intimate embrace that made my stomach turn, and Elena finally left. I waited 5 minutes, then approached Damien's office. "Excuse me," I said, knocking on his open door. "I'm interested in personal training." Damien looked up from his phone, flashed that perfect smile, and extended his hand. "Damien Sloan. Great to meet you, Mr. Connolly." Jack Connolly. If he recognized the name, he didn't show it. Either he was a better actor than I thought, or Elena hadn't mentioned having a husband. "What are your fitness goals, Jack?" I looked him straight in the eye and smiled. "I want to be strong enough to handle anything life throws at me." "I can definitely help with that. When would you like to start? How about Thursday night?" 8 o'clock. For just a second, Damien's perfect composure slipped. "Thursday night's not good for me." "How about Friday morning?" "Thursday works better for my schedule." "I'm pretty flexible, though. Whatever gym, you prefer." Now I had his attention. Damien studied my face, probably trying to figure out if I knew something or if I was just a coincidence with bad timing. "Let me check my schedule and get back to you," he said, his smile a little less bright than before. "Take your time." "I'm not going anywhere." I left him my number and walked out, feeling better than I had in months. The game was on, and Damien Sloan had no idea who he was playing against. Thursday night, I'd be ready for them. Thursday couldn't come fast enough. I spent 2 days planning, preparing, and trying not to think too hard about what I was about to see. Derek helped me pick up some surveillance equipment. Nothing fancy, just a good camera with a zoom lens and a digital recorder small enough to hide in a flower arrangement. "You sure about this?" Derek asked as we sat in his truck outside the Marriott downtown. "Once you see it, you can't unsee it." "I need to know." "You already know. Elena's cheating. Damien's a scumbag. You've got enough to file for divorce and take her for half of everything." "It's not about the divorce," I said, adjusting the camera settings. "It's about making sure everyone knows who they really are." Derek nodded. He understood. This wasn't just about ending my marriage, it was about justice. Elena had spent months making me feel like I was crazy, like I was paranoid and pathetic. She'd gaslighted me, lied to my face, and treated me like I was lucky she bothered to come home at all. Now it was time for consequences. At 7:45, Elena's Honda pulled into the hotel parking lot. She'd told me she was having dinner with her sister in Newton, a lie I'd confirmed with a quick call to her sister's house. Elena parked near the back, away from the main entrance, and sat in her car for a few minutes, probably checking her makeup and working up the nerve. She looked beautiful. Even from 50 yards away, even knowing what she was about to do, I had to admit my wife was stunning. She'd worn the black dress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one she claimed made her look fat. Apparently, it was good enough for Damien. At exactly 8 o'clock, Damien's BMW pulled up next to Elena's car. They kissed through their open windows, a quick, excited kiss that made my stomach clench, and then walked into the hotel together. "Room 412, Derek said, lowering his binoculars. "Saw them at the window." I grabbed the flowers, a dozen red roses with a tiny camera hidden among the stems, and headed for the hotel entrance. "Jack," Derek called after me. "Don't do anything stupid." Define stupid. Anything that gets you arrested. I grinned. No promises. The hotel lobby was generic corporate luxury, marble floors, oversized furniture, and the kind of art that was designed to offend absolutely no one. I walked to the elevators like I belonged there, just another guest heading to his room. 4th floor, room 412. I could hear them before I reached the door. Elena's laugh, Damien's voice saying something about how incredible she was. My hand tightened around the flowers. I knocked. 3 sharp raps. The voices inside stopped. Footsteps approached the door. "Who is it?" Damien's voice, suspicious now. "Flower delivery for Elena Connolly." More whispered conversation, then the sound of the security chain being removed. The door opened, and there was Damien in a hotel bathrobe, his perfect hair messed up, looking confused and annoyed. "We didn't order any surprise." I pushed past him into the room, camera already recording. "Hope I'm not interrupting anything important." Elena was sitting on the bed in her underwear and my birthday dress, which was now bunched around her waist. When she saw me, her face went through about 6 different emotions in 2 seconds: surprise, fear, anger, and finally, defiance. "Jack, what the hell are you doing here?" "Bringing you flowers, sweetheart." Isn't that what husbands do? Damien had recovered from his shock and was trying to look intimidating, which was hard to do in a terry cloth bathrobe. "You need to leave, now." "Oh, I don't think so, Damien. We haven't been properly introduced." I extended my hand. "Jack Connolly, Elena's husband. You know, the guy who pays for the car you followed here, the dress you just helped her take off, and the wedding ring she's still wearing." Damien ignored my hand, but I could see him calculating, trying to figure out his next move. "Look, man, this is between you and your wife. Actually, it's between all 3 of us now. See, Elena told me I could leave if I didn't like how she lived her life. But she never mentioned she was living it with Instagram's answer to a Ken doll." "Jack, stop." Elena had found her voice, and it was sharp with anger. "This is embarrassing." "For who? Me? I'm not the one screwing around in hotel rooms. I'm not the one lying about dinner with my sister. I'm not the one who forgot to mention being married to the guy I'm cheating with." Damien's face went pale. "You're married?" Elena shot him a look that could have melted steel. "It's complicated." "No," I said, still recording. "It's really not. We're married. 15 years next month. She lives in my house, drives a car I pay for, and apparently spends her free time auditioning for the role of Damien's side piece." "That's enough." Elena stood up, pulling her dress down. "You have no right to be here." "I have every right. I'm your husband. Remember? Till death do us part? In sickness and in health? Ring any bells?" Damien was putting on his pants, moving fast. "I'm leaving." "Good idea," I said. "But Damien, next time you want to play homewrecker, maybe ask if the woman you're screwing is actually available. Saves everyone a lot of awkward conversations." He grabbed his shirt and shoes and headed for the door. "Elena, I'll call you—" "No," I said, stepping between him and the door. "You won't. You're going to delete her number, forget she exists, and find someone single to impress with your protein shake wisdom. You can't tell me what to do." I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I'm not telling you. I'm suggesting. See, I used to be a cop, Damien. I know a lot of people. People who might be very interested in your side business, your tax situation, your immigration status. I was born here. Or maybe they'd just like to know that you specialize in married women. I bet your boss at the gym would love to hear about your customer service techniques." Damien looked at Elena, probably hoping she'd say something to defend him. She was staring at her hands, her face red with shame and fury. "This is insane," he muttered, pushing past me toward the door. "Damien," I called after him. "Nice abs." "Shame about your IQ." The door slammed behind him, leaving Elena and me alone in a hotel room that smelled like her perfume and his cologne and 15 years of marriage going up in flames. "Happy now?" Elena asked, her voice shaking with rage. "Getting there." She started gathering her things: purse, shoes, the jewelry I'd given her for Christmas. "I want a divorce." "Good. We agree on something." Elena stopped, probably expecting me to fight, to beg, to promise I'd change. When I didn't, she looked genuinely surprised. "That's it?" 15 years and that's it? Elena, you told me I could leave. You've been planning this for months, maybe longer. The only difference is now I know about it. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. You're bored. You want excitement. You want to feel young and desired and special. And you figured you could have that with Damien while keeping the security of being married to me. Best of both worlds, right? Tears started running down her cheeks, but I was done being moved by Elena's tears. I'd seen them too many times, usually when she wanted something, or when she'd been caught in a lie. Jack, please. We can work this out. It was a mistake. The only mistake was me thinking you were someone worth fighting for. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Elena, I'm posting the video of Damien running half-naked through the hotel lobby on social media. Just thought you should know. You wouldn't. Watch me. I left her sitting on the bed, crying into her hands, and walked back through the hotel lobby with my head high. Derek was waiting in the parking lot, engine running. How'd it go? He asked as I climbed into the truck. Better than expected. Damien's definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And Elena? Elena's about to learn that actions have consequences. Derek pulled out of the parking lot, and I watched the hotel disappear in the side mirror. Phase 1 was complete. Now came the fun part, making sure everyone in Elena's carefully constructed world knew exactly what kind of person she really was. My phone buzzed with a text from Elena. Please don't post that video. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. We were done talking. By Friday morning, the video was everywhere. Not the hotel room footage. I wasn't that cruel. But the security camera footage Derek had somehow acquired of Damien, sprinting through the Marriott lobby in his underwear, shoes in hand, looking like he was fleeing a fire. I'd posted it on Facebook with the caption, "When you realize the single woman you've been dating is actually married. Run, Forrest, run." Within 6 hours, it had been shared 47 times and had over 200 comments. Apparently, a lot of people in our social circle had opinions about Damien Sloan. "Isn't that the trainer from Fit Life?" commented Sarah Walsh, Elena's yoga buddy. "Oh my God, yes. I knew something was off about that guy," replied Jennifer Martinez from Elena's book club. "Wait, is that Elena's car in the background?" asked Tom Bradley, my former patrol partner. The comments kept coming, and with each one, I felt a little more vindicated. Elena had spent months making me feel like I was the problem, like I was paranoid and jealous for no reason. Now everyone could see the truth. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with calls and texts from Elena, but I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on work, inspecting a commercial building renovation in downtown Medford, and pretending my life wasn't imploding. Around noon, Derek called. "You need to get to the gym. Now." "Why?" "Damien's here and he's looking for you." I was there in 10 minutes. Derek's gym was in full swing, guys lifting weights, women on cardio machines, the usual lunch crowd trying to squeeze in a workout between meetings. And there, by the front desk, was Damien Sloan, looking considerably less polished than he had in his Instagram photos. His perfect hair was disheveled, his usually pristine workout clothes were wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes that suggested he hadn't slept much after his hotel room humiliation. "There he is." Damien pointed at me as I walked through the door. "That's the psycho who's been stalking me." The entire gym went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to watch the show, and I could see Derek positioning himself behind the front desk, ready to intervene if things got ugly. "Stalking?" I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Is that what we're calling it when a husband catches his wife's boyfriend in a hotel room?" A few people gasped. Others pulled out their phones, probably hoping to capture whatever happened next for their own social media feeds. Damien's face turned red. "You had no right to humiliate me like that." "I had every right. She's my wife, genius. She told me you were separated." "Did she?" "Funny because she was wearing her wedding ring when I found you two together." Also funny because she's been living in my house, driving my car, and using my credit cards to buy the lingerie she wore for you. More gasps from the audience. I was starting to enjoy this. Look, Damien said, trying to regain some composure. What happened between Elena and me is over, I finished. Because you're going to stay away from my wife, delete her number, and pretend you never met her. You can't tell me who I can and can't see. I stepped closer, close enough that Damien had to look up to meet my eyes. Actually, I can. See, I did some research on you, Damien. Turns out you've got a pattern. Married women seem to be your specialty. Damien's eyes darted around the gym, probably realizing that everyone was listening to every word. I found 3 other women in the past year, I continued. All married, all clients at various gyms around Boston. All told their husbands they were just working out. That's not Mrs. Patterson from Brookline, Mrs. Chen from Cambridge, Mrs. Rodriguez from Somerville. Should I keep going? The color drained from Damien's face. Behind me, I could hear people whispering, probably recognizing the names. You've been running a side business, haven't you, Damien? Personal training with very personal benefits. I wonder what the Better Business Bureau would think about your customer service techniques. You're insane, Damien said, but his voice lacked conviction. Maybe. But I'm also right. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through screenshots. Here's a text from Mrs. Patterson. Can't wait for our private session tonight. Here's one from Mrs. Chen. My husband thinks I'm at book club. And my personal favorite from Mrs. Rodriguez. You make me feel alive again. Derek was trying not to laugh. Several gym members were openly staring at Damien with disgust. How did you get their phone numbers? Easy. You put them all in your Instagram bio at various times. Took me about an hour to match them up with your hotel check-ins. You're not as smart as you think you are. Damien looked around the gym, probably realizing that his reputation was being destroyed in real time. This is harassment. No, this is consequences. You want to play homewrecker? Fine. But don't act surprised when someone calls you out on it. I started walking toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and Damien? That fancy motorcycle you've been posting pictures of? Might want to check your insurance policy? I'd hate for anything to happen to it. Is that a threat? I smiled. It's a suggestion. Accidents happen all the time in parking lots, especially to guys who don't pay attention to their surroundings. I left him standing in the middle of Derek's gym, surrounded by people who now knew exactly what kind of man he was. My phone was already buzzing with notifications, people tagging me in posts, sharing the story, adding their own commentary. By the time I got back to my truck, someone had already posted a video of the confrontation on Facebook. The comments were brutal. Finally, someone called out this creep. I knew there was something wrong with that guy. Good for you, Jack. Elena doesn't deserve you. That last one stung a little, but it was also true. Elena didn't deserve me. She deserved exactly what she was getting, public humiliation and the consequences of her choices. My phone rang. Elena's number. This time, I answered. Jack, please, you have to stop this, she said, her voice shaking. People are calling me at work, asking questions. My boss wants to see me first thing Monday morning. Sounds like a personal problem. This isn't just hurting me. It's hurting you too. People are talking. Let them talk. I've got nothing to hide. Please, can we meet somewhere and discuss this like adults? I thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. No. Jack, Elena, you made your choice. You chose Damien over me, excitement over stability, lies over truth. Now you get to live with the consequences. But I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of having a safety net while you play around. But that safety net just got pulled away. I hung up and turned off my phone. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The old Jack, the guy who didn't take crap from anyone, who fought for what was right even when it was hard. Elena wanted a war. She was about to get one.